Welcome, everybody, to this week's Views from the 573 podcast. Everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you tuning in, whichever podcast platform is your preference, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes. You can also go check us out on YouTube, podcast from the 573. You can go check out all of our Views podcasts and entertainment podcasts as well. So be sure to go subscribe and catch up on all the latest action from that. Also, go check out entertainment, by the way. Our 100th episode for Views is coming up in a few weeks. We also got a couple big entertainment pods coming up that day as well, July 10th. Let me run through what we have for the 100th episode. So the 100th episode, we're going to start our NFL preview with the AFC North. We're going to talk about the comings and goings of NBA free agency, which we're going to preview last thing for the show today. We might talk about fantasy football preview since Matt's going to be coming back. We're going to be doing I'm playing on MLB review at All-Star break. So that's when the All-Star break is, so around that. And also, just because it's Views, a couple of the funny memes, storylines, moments from the Views since it's 100 episodes. We might have to bring up Herm Edwards a little bit for Matt since he's going to be back. So we'll have to prepare for that. For entertainment as well, we talked about this. We're going to split these up. So for one entertainment episode, we're going to have our Spider-Man Far From Home review since that's coming out next week. And so we'll have a little over a week to talk about that. Then we'll do a ranking of the MCU post Endgame and Far From Home. It'll be a year after we did our rankings last year. And so it'll be time to take a look back. And then the last big thing for entertainment, Peter books the DCEU. Oh man, that's gonna be a trip. So with that being said, let's bring Peter in. Peter, how you doing?
Good. Yeah, I still have to do that, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, you have to do that, and you also have to create a wheel to pick out your new NBA team.
Oh, that's the easier part. It's just the long setup. We should also say we had changed the rules again. So basically what this wheel is, because we know the Knicks are going to mess up free agency. We just know at this point.
Yes.
We'll get that a little more later. What we're going to do is we're going to have a wheel with the other 29 teams, but we're also going to have 29 spots for the Knicks as well in between. So if I'm going to escape this, I got to earn it.
Yeah, you got to earn it. That's going to be all great fun. On today's Views, however, it's great fun as well. The NBA draft, talk about that. That's the first subject we'll hit at the top here. Also, some NHL stuff happening after the NHL season got wrapped up a couple of weeks back. Then there's an interesting story that Peter actually tossed me yesterday concerning a certain California bill that could be affecting some of the schools in the NCAA, especially in the Pac12. And then, as we said, we'll close it out with NBA free agency. We have no clue who's going where, who's taking meetings with who. So this is just a formality. Like, we got to preview this and try to maybe take a guess at who's going to go where. So that being said, let's hit with the draft. Of course, the NBA draft was last Thursday night. Me and Jace did a preview for that. And pretty much the top fell as we all predicted. Zion 1, Ja 2, and then RJ Barrett 3. So, Peter, he's now officially a Knick.
For him.
How are you feeling about it?
I mean, the graphic that ESPN straight up put up when it said team needs and just put everything. It's not a solution by any means, but at least it's a start. Because, I mean, coming into the season, he was ahead of Zion before Zion went off. I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was like, oh, RJ's going to be the number one out of Duke, and then we learned that Zion Williams exists, so that was interesting. So I think there's a lot of good to come out of that. It's just, do they get anybody to help him? Because if it's just RJ Barrett, he's dead.
Yeah. And you know what? He seems ready for the challenge. He has that alpha dog mentality, like me and Jace talked about. Alpha dog Andrew Wiggins. It's somewhat of an improvement over the original, but you know what? He's going to be a guy that's going to go get buckets for you. I like the pick. And like you said, he was the number one guy at the top of the big board before the season. Then Zion came on the scene. So
I'm kind of shocked they made it. I thought they would just mess up and draft something dumb.
Well, I wouldn't have put it past them, Peter. They would have been the team to do it.
I feel like they would have caused a riot at that point, so they had to. Their hand was kind of played.
Yeah, it was. The real action at the draft started at 4. That was a Pelicans pick they got from the Lakers trade, which shout out to the Lakers for making accounting errors in 2019. Their accounting errors are like regular days for me and you. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
So we had that. The Hawks end up trading up to get this pick. They end up trading number 8, number 17, I believe a second rounder, move up to 4 to take DeAndre Hunter. Cleveland, closing out the top 5, took Darius Garland, who only played 5 games at Vanderbilt. They took Colin Sexton last year. It's an interesting pairing. I'm thinking people know what I'm talking about. It's going to be Portland East with McCollum and Lillard. And you got John Beilein there, who coached at Michigan last year. And these are the type of guys he likes, guys who can shoot it. They took a couple other guys. They took Dylan Windler, the second guy taken out of the OVC from Belmont. So shout out to the OVC for getting 2 players drafted. And then they traded back up in the number 30 to get Kevin Porter, who's has a bunch of potential, just a bunch of like off the court problems, and he can put it all together. And I really like Cleveland's draft. I think that they're one of the big winners of this draft. They really came out and improved their team. Of course, they're going to develop these guys, but I really like them. Also, you had a couple trades up. Minnesota trading up. The Washington Wizards, Peter. They might be the Knicks this year. They had no idea what the crap they were doing. They had no president in place to make decisions. It's just a mess up there.
Yeah, that team's been a fall from grace because 2 years ago they seemed like one of the breakout candidates in the East, and now they're just falling apart. But I want to say something with the Pelicans. They went full Kevin Costner draft day here. They just have all the leverage over the next couple of years.
Yeah, they did. They got a bunch of draft picks, and they had a good draft. They took Zion, of course. Then 17, they took Nickeil Alexander-Walker, really nice player. He could be a really good player for them down the line. And then taking a look later on in the draft, they got a couple assets there that they could work with. And one of the other players I forgot to mention, Jackson Hayes, who they're hoping could be a center to pair next to Zion. He's more of a rim protector, block shots, dunk, pick and rolls, all that stuff. So that's a nice pairing there. The Pelicans, they're looking nice, and like you said, they have an interesting future, and plus they have the cap space to make something happen in free agency to be a dark horse of somewhat. Because listen, you got a bunch of young players. It's kind of like the Philly situation a couple years back. You're going to need dad in there to kind of like help, set the stage. Like, here's how it's going to be. I mean, Philly did with JJ Redick. And it's something New Orleans could do here. But yeah, New Orleans had a nice draft. Another team that had a nice draft, the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks, they had an interesting draft last year. Of course, Trae Young, Kevin Huerter. I like those pieces a lot. John Collins. They drafted Cam Reddish, who has a ton of upside. He could be a boom or bust player, but he was another guy that people were talking about could go top 5 this time last year, and he fell all the way down to 10. But the Hawks, they had a really good draft. Their future is really interesting. Their core is nice as well. I really liked what they did there. Of course, they got DeAndre Hunter at 4. I really like that pick for them. We talked about him on the preview pod last week. He has potential to be a really good 3-D player down the road. So those are some of the teams we kind of liked. I know some people are getting on Phoenix's head because of them trading down when they could have had one of these top point guards when that was one of their needs. But I know people are getting on them for that. The Celtics had an interesting draft, and you know what, Peter? I think maybe the Celtics went into this kind of knowing that Kyrie, he's going to be gone. They might lose Terry Rozier, Al Horford, who's one of the classiest guys in the league. They try to work out a deal. He was like, nope, I'm going to test free agency. And that locker room is a mess and a question mark right now.
Well, even with the talent, they just couldn't mesh together. No. That was the problem.
Yeah, it was the problem. And I think they went into this draft knowing that full well that we're going to lose some of these guys. So we need to be prepared and take some of these young guys in the draft to kind of help fill their roles, fill their production somewhat. And so they took Romeo Langford, number 14, high upside. They took my boy Grant Williams from Tennessee. We talked about this being a good spot for him, me and Jace did. He ended up, we talked about him at 14. He goes there at 22. Really like the pick. They took Carson Edwards, who had a great NCAA tournament.
I'll say with Romeo, with my passing interest in Big Ten basketball, definitely a very interesting upside you got Boston will get from Indiana there. I mean, good shooting guard, 6'6", 215. I mean, again, the question with Boston, of course, is can you get all of these new guys to mesh together? Because that's going to be important. Because I think this is an interesting young team if that's the route they're going to go for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But, they just can't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah. I will talk about Boston free agency. They might be a sneaky player in free agency, trying to get one of these top guys. So take a look at a couple of the intriguing guys here. My Grizzlies actually did really well. I'll point that out. Getting Brandon Clark here, regarded as a guy that could have gone in the lottery, get him at 21. Really good value there. They traded up to get him. He could be a guy that could be filling in more of a rebounder type of role, protect the rim type of guy to pair along with Jaren Jackson. You pair him with Ja Morant. The future's really nice for the Grizz. I'm really excited for that. A couple other guys of interest. Darius Bazley. Now, the reason I'm bringing him up is this was a guy that we talked about. Like he was going to go to Syracuse, decided he wasn't, and was going to go to the G League, but things didn't work out. And so now here he is. He's taken at 23 by Oklahoma City, so this is where he ends up. Nasir Little, another top 5 guy that fell all the way down to 25. I think this is a good situation for him. Portland, they got a good organization there with Lillard, McCollum, Nurkic. I like that. The Spurs, they do what the Spurs do. Matt Spurs end up doing pretty well again. Of course, they take somebody named Luka to compete with Dallas, who has a Luka as well. And then I think the big story that we got to get to is Bol Bol.
Yeah, that was crazy to watch.
Yeah, I felt really bad for him, to be honest. Just looking on Twitter, it's like he left the green room. He was pretty much the only one left. He wasn't happy. He was shedding a few tears. It was really kind of sad to see all this kind of go through. And of course, he had this questions about his medical history, about like what he projects down the line as far as that stuff is concerned. Does he really love the game? But I'll tell you what, Peter, I like the spot he ended up going to at 44, Denver. Now, he was traded. Now, Miami did make the pick, and if he went to Miami, that still would have been a good place for him to end up because we talked about this on the preview pod. Miami is a good spot. They're a stable organization. You got Pat Riley, Spoelstra. You got history. You got culture there. Denver, they're a really nice up-and-coming team, and they took a chance on Michael Porter Jr., let him redshirt a year. They could do the same thing with Bol Bol, and you'll be fine. I think it's a great pick at 44. It's a very high reward opportunity there for Denver. But I was very happy to see him get drafted, even though this was lower than he wanted to go. But I think he still ended up in a great spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that'll kind of wrap up the draft. And really, the draft was an interesting event. Again, you had the top 3, and pretty much after that, it was all over the place. It was a fun night. Had several trades going down. The Lakers somehow found a way to get back in the draft. They need to be more worried about their cap space right now. But nonetheless, it was a fun night all around. The new talent of the NBA has now officially entered the league. So, yeah, we'll talk about free agency here to close the show. So now let's move on to the NHL. Now, Peter, there's been some interesting moves in the NHL so far within the first few days of the offseason.
Yeah, that's typically how it goes. I mean, it all starts with the entry draft, which since we don't really talk about the NHL that much, their entry draft is very specific. This year, the players had to be born between January 1st, 1999 and September 15, 2001. So you got a lot of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds coming in this league. And pretty much coming out of North America, Jack Hughes, the center, was the best skater for most people, and out of Europe it was oh boy, it's gonna be a fun one. Capo Kakko, right wing from Finland. Hope that's right. Probably not. So yeah, Hughes went number 1 overall to the Devils, and Kakko went to the Rangers, which we should say, wait a minute, New Jersey and New York weren't that bad. You're right, because the NHL too has a stupid lottery system for no good reason. So Ottawa, you know how you were the worst team by far? Guess what? You're picking 4. Have fun, idiot. Lost the Kings? Have fun at 5. So yeah, it's interesting. Of course, Chicago, who should have picked 12, goes number 3, and they get Kirby Doc Center out of Canada. Very interesting. Again, I'm a little more cynical when it comes to the entry draft, because unless you were a huge coming of age prospect like Ovechkin, Crosby, or David, you might start, but I don't think you're gonna be impactful. Right. Now Hughes, though, he's a fast skater. He's gonna be a good center for the Devils. I mean, they haven't had one, feels like, for forever now. And it also helps too that they somehow got PK Subban from Nashville. So It's a very interesting time in New Jersey, because with the exception of making the playoffs 2 years ago, they're typically near the bottom of whatever division they're in. So, very interesting time. They're a team with 3 Stanley Cups to their name. I'm not going to say 4 is guaranteed, but they're making the right strides here. Same with the Rangers getting Kakko. Made a lot of other interesting moves along the way. I think there's a good build-up there. Of course, the Blackhawks somehow getting picked 3 with Doc. They're going to move up. Some other big ones. The Los Angeles Kings had to settle for Alex Turco. The Senators. And definitely, again, unless some of these guys might start, a lot of them are probably going to go to the AHL or ECHL.
Yeah.
Because there's no really... Jack Hughes and Kakko were kind of this year's quote-unquote generational talents, because the NHL loves that phrase. So I think, especially with New Jersey, he'll be starting very soon. Kakko might as well. Doc for sure has to be starting soon with the Blackhawks. So, again, if you have a passing interest, it's good. My Pens, they got Samuel Poland at 21, right wing. Definitely need. So, yeah, again, it's not the craziest, especially in a league where, it doesn't matter if you're 18 or 55, you can still play hockey. So, it'll be interesting. But that's kind of the big things. Hughes and Kakko, they're the 2 big guys coming out of North America and Europe. New Jersey got him, and the Rangers got him. So, good luck, everybody. New York can maybe be good at hockey again, which might be worse. Which might be the worst case scenario for everybody.
Well, Peter, they need to be good at something, because they aren't good at football. They aren't good at basketball. They need something to be good at.
They're only half good at baseball when you think about it.
Yeah, the Yankees are doing good. The Mets are middling at best. So, yeah. Oh, man. Poor New York. Mm-hmm. We'll get into the Knicks a little bit later here. So, there's the NHL stuff. You mentioned the Subban stuff. That kind of took me by surprise when I saw it. But after reading a little bit more on it, I think I understand why the move was made.
Yeah, for some reason he's that quality player that gets traded around, because Montreal had him for 3-4 years, and of course Nashville had him for the past 4-3. So now he's got 3 or 4 years in New Jersey to make an impact, I guess, with this rate.
Yeah, I think we should plan on him getting traded in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Some of the other notable 3 agents, the Blue Jackets. Harnan, Bruskowski, and Duquesne. Their center, their goalie, and their left wing are all free agents. So, have fun, Columbus.
No, I think I mentioned the Blues are looking at Duquesne.
Yeah, he would fit very well there.
Yeah, I mean, just add him to a team that just won the Stanley Cup. I mean, that's good enough. And speaking of, I think I just saw they signed their coach back for 3 more years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, the Blues are keep on keeping on. So they're looking at keeping this thing rolling. So who knows? Maybe we can celebrate another Stanley Cup next year.
Yeah, and again, all these free agents, theoretically, by July they could be signed to their team again. But for the most part, we're slightly convinced they're going to test the market.
Yeah.
Andres Lee out of the Islanders, as well as Robin Leonard, their left wing goalie. That could be a very interesting. It could be very bad to lose them, especially for a team that's on the rise. Tyler Mize out of Winnipeg could be a very interesting thing for some team. Marcus Johansson out of Boston at the left wing position, and Anton Strawman, the defensive end for the Lightning. So there's, again, it's no, Crosby's or whatever on the market, but there's some impactful guys who can really change the course of a team's trajectory if they can really get good. And the Sharks made a good deal. They signed Erik Karlsson to an 8-year contract with the Sharks. So he'll probably be there for the foreseeable future.
And Peter, you bring out those guys that might not be the Crosbys and Ovechkins of the world, but guys that can still make an impact. Those are just as important as those guys.
Yeah, hockey's weird. I mean, having a generational talent is good and all, but unless you have those guys to behind you to be good, you're not going to make a move. I mean, that's always been Crosby and Ovechkin's thing. They've always had the star-studded, backups. I mean, Malkin, he would be the best center on any team, but he's behind Crosby. That's what Connor McDavid has going bad for him up in Edmonton. His supporting cast, it's really not there. He's just viewed as, he's the next Gretzky. He can do everything. Well, even Gretzky had, the boys behind him to really lead that dominance. So, hockey's a very interesting beast. It's something we should go over more, but like ESPN, we don't have the time for it. But hey, at least us giving it some talk at this point is much more than what ESPN is doing.
Yeah, it is. All right, now this story, it's interesting. You sent this to me yesterday. You let me know about this, and I honestly did not have a clue that this was happening. I honestly believe nobody else knew this was happening besides the people in California and the NCAA. Mm-hmm. But the NCAA, they got an interesting problem on their hands, a problem to them. A bill asserting that athletes in California schools who could earn compensation for use of their own name, image, or likeness passed in the Senate, in the state Senate last month at 31-4. Again, didn't have a clue about it. It could begin easily in 2023. And the NCAA is taking a look at it. And they're saying Mark Emmert suggested that if this bill goes through, and it's confirmed that it might, that schools could potentially be barred from competing in NCAA championships. Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing. And we're talking about likeness. And we talked about that not only in class, but we talked about this on the pod as well. Using somebody's name, image, likeness, stuff like that. It's been a hot topic for the NCAA for years. And this is really interesting. And if this does happen, if these schools are barred from championship play, 23 NCAA Division I schools could be impacted by the bill potentially passing, including 4 Pac-12 programs. And those are California Berkeley, we got Stanford, we got UCLA, and we got USC. That's 4 12s out of the 12-team Pac-12 conference. Mm-hmm. And that could be very impactful, especially when we're talking about football, when it comes to the college football season. But this is as impactful as this has a long-lasting impact on all those sports. And again, 23 NCAA Division I schools can be impacted. Peter, I like the bill that, schools in California could earn compensation for this. I'm fine with that. I think it's getting close to being time for this. What do you think about the NCAA going after them for this?
I mean, it's kind of in their MO. I mean, they don't want any schools to have a certain advantage, obvious advantage. I mean, let's be real. Every school's paying their players something.
Yep.
They have to. I mean, I guarantee you Penn State is paying the players something. Arizona State's paying paper something.
Not Herm Edwards.
Yeah. He's paying them in moral, you play to win the game victories. But don't get me wrong, your volunteers are probably giving somebody money on the side. Bama for sure is giving kids a lot of money.
Especially in Dodge and Ford dealerships, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I've always said these players should be paid. You should be paid what you're worth, and college football draws a large audience and draws a lot of bucks. And here's the thing. We're not talking about, we're going to be paying college kids, $1 million for a season.
Right.
No one's saying that. I mean, it's, again, for a lot of these kids, they're going into college because, they want to make it to the NFL to help their family. If you can give these kids, I don't know, $50,000 to help their family back home, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
They have the money. We're not going ridiculous amounts here, so the NCAA should look into it. Of course, this is, I guess, the next... I think the background here, because 5 years ago you had the Supreme Court case with Ed O'Bannon, the former UCLA basketball player, who represented, I think, a class action against the NCAA for players' likeness.
Yeah.
Which I think the court never pushed, but this is that was the case that kind of killed off all the NCAA video games.
Yes.
Because they were like, we don't know how to really approach this, so just to be safe, okay, none of these athletes are going to be in a game again. Which thanks a lot, O'Bannon, you.
I know it's cost me playing NCAA for many years. Oh man, what was the last game? Was it 2013?
14 was the last one.
Oh man, that's been so long.
Yeah, the forget his name, but the Michigan quarterback who never tied his shoes was on the front.
Oh, Denard Robinson.
That's him. That's the boy.
Oh, bless him. He played for the Jags. Oh.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I don't even ask where his career is now if you could just tell me that little bit of information. But yeah, so we should say, from a Pac-12 football standpoint, because let's be real, the college sports world kind of rolls around the football game.
Yes.
USC, UCLA, Cal, and Stanford, they can still play the seasons. They just could not go to a championship or a bowl game.
It would just be like Ole Miss the past couple of years.
Yeah, so it's weird with how some of these athletes might view college. If they're say you go to USC, you're going to be on one of the biggest stages for college football in the country, regardless of how that team performs.
Yeah.
So you're going to be getting noticed by college coach or NFL coaches and scouts for sure.
Yeah.
So that I don't think that would affect them too much, but maybe the kids who are coming there knowing we're not going to make it to the NFL, but hey, might as well we can get one more shot at football glory here in college.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to be a good sell for USC if they say, hey, if that's what you're here for, we can't make a bowl game or a potential tournament appearance. So
yeah,
it's this could be very interesting. It could very well affect the Pac-12. I would not be surprised if they just told Cal, Stanford, USC, and UCLA to kick the boot.
Yeah. Hey, you know what this means? Pac-12 championships for Herm Edwards.
Well, you gotta find 4 new teams. That'll be the first challenge.
Yeah, just play with it. Call the Pac-8. Let Herm win it every year.
You know what? Hey, they finally decided to let the Big 12, which is technically the new Big 10, have a championship with only 10 teams, which, as a Big 10 guy, it's like, wow, thanks, NC. You made us, mess around for years and years to find that 12th team, and we somehow got Nebraska of all teams. And then you were like, you know what, Pac-12, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
It's all rigged. It's all rigged BS.
Peter, I think if Herm Edwards were to win multiple Pac-12 championships, it would get Matt somewhat intrigued. Because that means our guy, our number one favorite coach in all of college football, would be winning multiple championships every season. He would basically become the Nick Saban of the Pac-8. That's what you would call it? He would become the Nick Saban of that conference, which I'm sure Matt would be totally fine with.
Oh, yeah.
It would give us more great Herm content. Yeah.
I'm looking at the college football map here. I'm trying to wonder if you were going to find 4 teams to replace those guys with. I guess you could. Boise State's the obvious one.
Yeah.
Maybe Nevada. Maybe BYU, since you already have Utah in there. It just makes sense.
I think so. Put them in there.
And you see, it's hard because all the good teams are in California. So you can't put a Fresno State or San Diego State in there at this point. Throw in Colorado State since Colorado's already in there. Who cares?
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, honestly, those aren't a bad 4 teams that you could put in there.
Boise State's I mean, this is their chance, prove like, hey, you're always talking that you're good enough. Here's a conference where you're going to be playing Oregon, Washington State.
Yeah.
You'll still have the Arizonas.
Yep.
And Utah, which is, before, they became in the Pac-12, they were always that, outside team and, the weaker conferences looking for respect. So, and they've certainly made a fair impact.
Yeah, they have.
And yeah, Nevada historically, I mean, you're going to be an underling like, a Rutgers is in the Big Ten, but hey, you're getting that Pac-12 money. I wouldn't complain that much.
No, I wouldn't either, but.
So yeah, this could be very interesting and it could change this college. I think this potentially, I'm surprised this isn't getting much notice because this could change the college football landscape or just college sports in general right now.
Yeah, that's the most intriguing thing about this. As how's this not getting any traction? Like, I'm seeing nobody else talking about it. The article you sent me was from Sports Illustrated. And I'm like, why isn't Fox Sports talking about this? Why isn't ESPN talking about this? Why isn't anybody on the sports radio networks talking about this? This could be really impactful. So, this could be something to watch down the line for sure.
Yeah. Now, technically, if the law was passed, it wouldn't go into effect till January 1st, 2023, but you think about it, that's not too far away. That's like 4 years.
I know. It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, it gives the NCAA. I think they're saying the NCAA does have some leverage over California because, let's be real, if this were to pass, and that means potential championships, because here's the thing, this is just football. This is for all the sports.
Yes.
This is for baseball, basketball, volleyball, diving, all of them. They can compete in championships, so you look at those athletes, this would probably help, colleges to the east of California much more. Maybe Nevada becomes the next college football powerhouse at this point.
Nevada, the next big thing in college football.
Because, yeah, even though if Matt was here, he'd be like, bowl games are stupid. It's like, fair enough, whatever. But here's the thing, these kids, that's how you get noticed. And here's the thing, if you want to go to the NFL, you got to go to a good school who has, stable programs that make bowl games.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're important. So you know what that means? Those schools out west, UNLV, Nevada, maybe even Wyoming of all schools, they might really step up their game here. And this, especially for a lot of these schools out in the Mountain West, this might be their big game.
Yeah.
Because right now, I think everyone's in agreement the Pac-12 is the weakest of the Power 5.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And if this happens and they can't play in bowl games or championships, I think they pretty much become a non-Power 5 school, which would be kind of crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, when you get when you have programs like Oregon, Washington, Stanford, my goodness, like that would be a big hit on not only the Pac-12 but on college football in general. Because again, like you got a bunch of those big schools in there, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Washington historically will probably survive if they were somehow to go to Mountain West. I don't know if the Mountain West becomes like a super conference with, the refugees of the Pac-12, I guess. I will say, I mean, I can see this passing because it's the state of California, and California is a dumb state that does dumb things like this. But I can also see maybe some sense coming into this. It's, this is the right thing to do. I think most people agree you should pay these athletes what they're worth.
Yeah.
And I should specify that. I'm not saying, you're going to pay every student athlete equal, because here's the thing. I'm a guy who believes the ratings matter.
Yeah.
USC football draws a lot. USC basketball draws a fair amount. USC baseball draws a fair amount. Everything else after that, you know what? You might get something, you might not. That's how the world goes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I do think that each program in that school, and whatever school, whether it's USC, UCLA, I think they'll get paid to what, what the schools are expecting them to draw as far as ratings, revenue, stuff like that.
Although I would think maybe now, if the idea of paying players is there, maybe these athletes start playing a little harder, making these college sports more interesting.
Yeah, that's another variable right there.
Because, golf is still popular in this country. College golf, there's a lot of interesting, a team dynamic we don't see on the PGA Tour at all, with the exception of the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
And even then, that's just an exhibition, which, matters, but not really.
I mean, and think about college golf. There's been a couple of standouts come out from college golf. Justin Thomas, Spieth, just to name a couple. But, that's another variable to throw in there. That could be interesting to watch.
You think about every 4 years with the Olympics, sports sports that would never draw huge audiences on their own. Besides that, diving, swimming, all that. There's a lot of those, athletes who came out of these college programs. So I think it'd be a little more interesting if we could maybe explore that idea.
Yeah.
Like I say, I think the purpose is, I think California's in the right mindset. I just don't think they're thinking big picture here, because you can't go against the NCAA.
Yeah.
No one can.
Yeah, the NCAA is too big of a monster.
And I mean, boy, this could... Because again, you got to think about, when Ohio State was banned for a year.
Yeah. In
2012, when they went undefeated. That shows, you can still draw a good team, but there has to be something at the end of the road.
Yeah.
Like even when Penn State was banned for 4 years, they still, had teams that were stable enough to be 7-5 or 6-6 at worst. So I mean, you can draw.
Yeah.
But again, there has to be the idea that something's going to be at the end of the road for you.
Yeah, there has to be, so.
So I think that's what California has to really take into account. But maybe this is good for the NCAA to show, hey, there are people now that think, you know what, these students shouldn't play for free.
Yeah.
Because they're technically part of the university system. And, when I worked at KRCU at SEMO, I was getting paid because, student employee technically.
Yeah.
So, especially how I felt about some of those Red Hawk athletes, like, yeah, you might deserve some money here. I'm not going to say those SEMO football players were worth, $5,000 a piece, but hey, they were at least playing football.
Peter, we should have deserved some money.
Yeah.
Pay us, SEMO. You put that money somewhere good. All right. I
was gonna say something bad about maybe a former entity we worked for, but I decided probably not to.
Better not.
Although saying that, everybody who's listened to the show since the beginning knows what I'm probably talking about.
All right, moving on to our last big thing for today, our last main topic. NBA free agency is starting next Sunday, Peter. Mm-hmm. Starting at 5 o'clock our time. A day earlier than normal. And already some interesting stuff coming out. Kawhi has reportedly already set a meeting with the Clippers on July 2nd. A couple other teams have already scheduled a meeting. The Lakers are trying to get a meeting in there with Kawhi. There's some belief around their organization that they still have a chance. There's some talk going around with D'Angelo Russell, around the Lakers, what they might have to do. Let's start with the Lakers here. There's a couple interesting names out there, Peter, and I think this would be like the Raiders of Hard Knocks. Is that J.R. Smith is going to be bought out in Cleveland. And where's he going to go? He's going to team up with his old boy LeBron in L.A. So that's already fun. Then who else is going to join up? Oh, wait, Carmelo is out there on the market. Let him go to L.A. Come on, Lakers. Go and get Chris Paul now from the Rockets. Please. Let's get the Banana Boat team underway.
Make it the ultimate 2005 team.
Oh, man. But just add AD and Kuzma in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, you get 05 JR, 05 Melo, and 05 LeBron. Woo. Listen, Melo, we joke about Melo. The dude's had a really good career. The dude's going to go into the Hall of Fame, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's a question.
Yeah. He left some franchises in disaster when he left, but hey, who hasn't?
Well, Peter, the Knicks were already a disaster.
Yeah. But it's just an extra bit of disaster on top of disaster.
Yeah.
It's layers.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of these free agents here, because they're really interesting. Kawhi, I think he's down to either re-signing with the Raptors or going to the Clippers. I don't know. I know he's going to be taking some other meetings with teams like the Sixers. With oh man, there's a couple other teams out there. A couple people throughout the Mavs. But I honestly think this. We don't know what he's going to do. Like we don't really know what anybody's going to do. But out of all of them, we know the least about what Kawhi might do.
I mean, Kawhi probably doesn't even know what he's going to do.
He's still probably having a little bit of that championship hangover right now.
Oh, yeah. Which I found this thing on ESPN where their so-called experts give percentages on where they go. They're giving him a 66% chance to the Raptors, and all the Clippers only at 33, and those are the only two teams.
Yeah, I think he does have a good shot at going back to the Raptors. I think. Listen, you don't know the Clippers. I mean, listen, the front office is stable right now. That's good. They have a ton of cap space. Let's talk about this. You got the Clippers with potentially 2 max slots. The Knicks with 2 max slots. The Nets. You got the Lakers with 1 slot open. You got maybe the Mavericks being some players. Boston. Somebody's going to end up leaving unhappy.
Yeah.
Somebody's not going to get one of these big time guys. And, I think Kawhi going back to the Raptors, I think it does make sense. I mean, he brought a championship to a whole freaking country.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can say that. Not in the NBA. Not even LeBron, which I'm sure LeBron's like 3 championships to the United States. Like, no, he hasn't. But Kawhi, and listen, Kawhi he might be considered one of the best players right now. He might be the best player in the NBA right now, currently. Now, you can have to debate about him and KD, but KD's not going to play for a whole year. But I think going back to the Raptors makes sense. And speaking of KD, interesting stuff going on here. We talked about, does he stay with the Warriors, rehab there? He knows the training staff, but could the training staff be part of the reason why he might want to leave? And so reports have come out, it's like, he's seriously thinking about leaving Golden State because he's ticked off with how Golden State handled his injury situation. And to be fair, I'm not mad at him for that. I think that's a fair point to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, where in the world is he going to go? Is he going to team up with Kyrie in Brooklyn or New York? I don't know.
Right now, they're saying Golden State has a 40% and the Nets and Knicks both have a 30%. So it's pretty much dead even at that point.
Yeah, and bring up Kyrie as well, and potentially with those two teaming up. So, like I said, it looks like he's leaving Boston. Things did not end up going well there. Maybe he was part of the reason why. I'm leaning towards he probably was, but I think it was just a whole plethora of things. Force-feeding Gordon Hayward shots with him coming back. I don't know. But with Brooklyn, and see, here's an interesting thing. They have one of their own top free agents, D'Angelo Russell, who is an unrestricted free agent. If they did get Kyrie, supposedly they would renounce his rights. And I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards, yes, I know the type of talent Kyrie is, but I'm maybe leaning towards, what you got with Russell? The dude's a team player last year. He made the All-Star team, and he's younger, 4 years younger. I'm maybe leaning towards maybe keeping him. But listen, if you get a Kyrie Irving, you don't turn that down. Not at all.
No.
Like, even though he might have caused some problems in Cleveland and Boston, you don't turn that down. And I'm kind of wondering if we'll see a new Kyrie or if we'll see same old Kyrie.
It's also the Nets. They're used to problems.
Yeah, although they've been very good about handling them. They've made strides from the years that they were in the cellar, giving those picks to Boston. And speaking of Boston, well, I'll go back to Russell later. Boston could be a player for Kimba Walker. Now, Kimba Walker, unrestricted free agent of the Hornets, they could offer him the Supermax, which I don't necessarily believe that's viable. The Hornets, they're a mid-league organization in the NBA. They're a team in no man's land. And that's probably maybe the worst spot you could be. It's even worse than being in the bottom of the cellar year in and year out, Peter, with your Knicks.
Oh.
Well,
that's fair.
Yeah, it's fair. Because listen, if you're the Hornets, you don't have a chance to get better with all these players that you're paying like $15, $17 million to. And and you don't have a chance of getting any worse because you're constantly like drafting 12th, 13th, 14th in the lottery, which is very troublesome. And also, with the cap space this year, this is kind of reminiscent of 2016, Peter, if you remember that year, where you had the big TV deal, you had the big spike in money, and everybody was just getting all willy-nilly and paying players like boatloads of cash. Shout out to Chandler Parsons for getting $94 million from the Grizzlies. Shout out to them. Well, it's still haunting me to this day, but I think Boston could be a viable option for Kimba. And listen, they have the cap space now. Horford is not going to re-sign there. Kyrie's not coming back. You're kind of looking at what do you do now if you're Boston? Do you go after a big man or do you go after a point guard? I think bringing Kimba in would be a good option. He's a guy that's been the man on the team before. And he's 29. He's right in the prime of his career. I'd like that fit a lot. I know Dallas has been mentioned. I know the Lakers are an option there, as well as with Kyrie and D'Angelo Russell. But I don't know. I think that would be a good fit. Klay Thompson, I think we know he's going to stay in Golden State. You agree?
Oh, yeah. ESPN's giving him a 100% chance. I would be shocked if he left.
Now they did say if Golden State does offer a little bit less than the max, he did say he would take a meeting with the Clippers, which that would make things a little bit more interesting if, Kawhi's taking meetings. If they offer him less than the max, Kawhi and Klay Thompson as a nice duo if you're the Clippers.
Yeah. Although I think with the Clippers, they're going to wait to see what KD does before they go to Klay. And I think even Klay might know that. It's like, hey, let's see what happens with KD. And if he leaves, hey, man, here's all the money in the world.
Yeah. Next, Porzingis. Dallas. Shout out to your Knicks for trading him, Peter. But hey,
this is the ultimate plan to get him back for cheaper. It was all a ruse.
Well, hey, I've heard the Lakers maybe doing that with Russell, so let's hold off on that. But Porzingis, which it would be funny. Oh man, but yeah, Porzingis, Dallas. It looks like they're going to offer him the 5-year max, $158 million. So it looks like he is staying there in Dallas. I'm really interested to see him and Luka play with each other. I'm ready to see that duo. Then next, after Porzingis, we got Jimmy Butler. Now this one is interesting. Of course, Philly owns his bird rights, but he could go a number of places. He could go team up with the Lakers. He could go to the Clippers. He could stay in Philly. But the interesting one that's come out in the last 24, 48 hours is getting him to Houston. And Houston, Peter, Houston might be a weirder locker room right now than your Knicks were the last couple years.
Oh, I believe it. When you have those two egos in the same room, oh boy.
Yeah, when you have Chris Paul finding secret tunnels to go fight players, and then you're having Chris Paul and James Harden talking crap about each other during games. And you have Daryl Morey maybe trading almost all the roster besides those two. It's a situation for pause. And there's talking about them doing a sign and trade with Philly. I don't know if you do that if you're Philly. I mean, he was great for Philly down the stretch, all the way down to when they got knocked out of the playoffs. It wasn't Embiid or Simmons, although Embiid was really good as well. It was Jimmy Butler. He showed up and came to play. And so if you did the deal, if you're the Rockets, and listen, the West, it's interesting. Golden State, of course, you got Klay's going to be out maybe till about February or March. You got KD's going to basically be out for the season. The West is kind of wide open. And there's a potential chance if you're Houston, if you make this move, you could be looking at maybe getting a top spot in the West and maybe making some noise in the playoffs and maybe trying to get to a championship next year. I still think they need to run it back. I think, and you need to find a way to make the salary work. Maybe trade Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, some draft picks. That could be a situation. You also got Tobias Harris out there. Philly could bring him back. Now, Peter, this could be the ultimate, move of the Porzingis stuff, where you're like, you trade him, get all these assets, but you bring him back. Where the Clippers trade up Harris to the Sixers, got all these assets, but then maybe bring him back. That would be an ultimate flex by Jerry West right there. Mm-hmm. Ultimate flex. Jerry West, he didn't have a whole lot of flexes as a as a player. I mean, of course, he's the logo. He got the one championship. But, like, as somebody in front office, he's been making flex moves for years. And this would just be another one of them. So, taking a look at some of the other free agents here, kind of wrap up here. Chris Middleton, I think he goes back to Milwaukee. Listen, Milwaukee, that team won 60 games last year. I think you got to bring guys back like him and Brogdon, even though it's going to cost you a bunch. I think you got to. You got Giannis there, who just won the MVP. I think you got to bring those two back. You can't let those two guys go somewhere else on the open market. I don't think you can. And so, a couple other free agents. D'Angelo Russell. Now, of course, he could go back to the Lakers. There's a couple interesting options here, Peter. I've heard the Celtics maybe being thought about. Maybe, who knows, maybe the Mavericks could find their way in. The Pacers. I don't know about your Knicks, but I think it's certainly an option. I mean, if they miss out, maybe they could steal them from their fellow New York team. It could be an option. But I think another option would be Minnesota, pairing him with Karl-Anthony Towns, who they're good friends. Him going back to the Lakers would be interesting because he would be going back there. That's where his career started. Decent friendship with LeBron. And listen, that team would be good. That team would be a good team out west. AD, he's 26. Russell, he's only 23. So when you're looking at the end of LeBron's contract, Russell, he's going to be 26. Anthony Davis, he's going to be 29, right in the prime of his career. And you got Kuzma in there as well. So maybe the Lakers aren't as dumb as we thought they were, although the cap situation is still atrocious. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you make that? Somebody's getting fired there. And they might end up going to your Knicks, Peter. I hate to say it, but it might happen.
I mean, at this point, it can't be worse than what we already have.
Hey, if they found a way to swing a deal for a big-time player, at least they're doing something right.
Oh, yeah. Listen, this is a team that needs to just get one max deal player.
Yeah.
Because you have Barrett now. You find pieces that are respectable, because there's really nothing on that team I find respectable at this point. No offense, guys, but y'all terrible.
Yeah.
But it's not their fault. It was management's fault. But, still.
Yeah.
Go to the G League.
And I think I've heard that if the Knicks don't get any of these big-time free agents, I think they're fine with not wasting any big cap space on any guys in the second, third tiers, which is a different way of thinking than what we know from the Knicks from the last few years.
They probably just close the franchise at that point.
But yeah, Russell could be a really interesting piece. A couple other guys. Now, we did mention New Orleans. Now, Peter, I think this could be an interesting spot for a couple people now. So I did hear this as a potential dark horse for Al Horford, who's now out on the market. I don't know. I don't think that's an option anymore. It might look like he could be monitoring the situation with the Clippers and with the Mavericks. I think a lot of this stuff on free agency hinges on the Clippers and what they do and who decides to sign there. I think they're the main domino to watch as far as teams go. But a couple other guys, Brook Lopez could be an interesting signing for a team like New Orleans. Marcus, I think he's going to go back to the Raptors. And Julius Randle is a name I've heard connected with your Knicks, Peter. And he had his best season after being a Lakers cast-off. He signed a one-year prove-it deal with New Orleans. He did really well, had his best season. I don't know. Maybe if you're the Knicks, maybe you take a shot on a young player. I mean, he's only 24. That's still young enough. Maybe you pair him with that core there. I don't know, but it's shaping up to be a really interesting NBA free agency period. And listen, by the time our 100th show comes around, we'll probably know where most of these guys end up.
Yeah, that's going to be on NBA free agency. It gets done fast.
Yeah. And so the start of it where people can start talking, taking meetings, that starts Sunday. I think the official start of the league year is July 6th. And that's when teams can officially sign these deals, can officially make the trades that were made. Like the AD trade officially goes through. A bunch of these trades that were made at the draft go through. that'll be the time to watch out for it. But I think pretty much when we're looking at some of these top 10 guys I'm looking at on CBS's sports list right now, I think most of these guys won't make a decision by then. But I think a thing of mantra would be the Lakers one. Because, again, they could create a whole lot more cap space by the end of July. It'll be interesting to see if one of these guys waits until the end of the month, next month, to see if they hold off on signing a deal and signing with the Lakers to form a new super team there. I think it's something to monitor. I think LA is going to be the big talk of the big talk of free agency. Both those teams. Which team is going to get these star players to come there? You know, the Lakers, they've been working for this. The Clippers, they've been working for this. So it's going to be an interesting season for free agency. Again, there's a whole lot of money out there. Whole lot of cap space for teams to play with. Again, one of these teams is going to end up going to go home unhappy. And Peter, I will tell you, I don't think it's the worst thing if your Knicks go away empty-handed. I don't think it is.
Well, here's the thing. I have a chance to, get a new team at that point, so I could care less what the Knicks do.
Yeah, you do, but you still have
I essentially have a 50% chance at this point of getting a new team in the coming weeks.
Yeah, you do. Oh, man. Watch you become a fan of a team that's in no man's land.
I mean, at this point, becoming a fan of the Kings isn't bad. It's a young team. It's on the uprise, maybe.
Yeah, the Kings are a nice team. They got some interesting pieces there.
Let's say what I'm going to get cannot be worse than the Knicks.
Well,
if I get the Nets, I get Jay-Z. That's a good trade-off. If I get the Pistons, I can become an a-hole and just fight people on the street for no reason. That's great.
No, Peter, you can fight people in the arena.
Yeah.
Become your own Ron Artest.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But like I said, pointed out last week, you can become a Grizzly or Spurs fan. Which
I take the Grizzlies at that point. I don't want me and Matt Mormon to have anything in common. At this point, our relationship is disagreeing about Star Wars at every turn and arguing about college football's relevance.
Well, no, wait, Peter. You probably agree on one thing. The Knicks have been terrible.
I mean, it's like saying you agree that the Earth is round.
Well, Kyrie would like to point out.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot. We're talking about the NBA here. Yeah, 1 year of college. I think we're seeing the effects.
At Duke, no less. Hey, did you hear what he asked Brad Stevens in a meeting one time? Like,
oh boy,
Brad Stevens literally said, "Good morning," and Kyrie comes in all philosophical and stuff. Like, dude is educated as crap. It's like, what does government mean to you? And I'm like, if you're Boston, he was like, yeah, we need to get out of this fast.
Reads Nietzsche once.
Oh, man. But yeah, chances are you probably will get a new team in a few weeks. And chances are it probably won't be any of our teams. So, I know you're hoping for the Pelicans.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
Now, I'll tell you this. I think you should also be hoping for the Hawks. I think they're nice. Their core is nice. They're a NBA League Pass team to watch out for. The Kings, you mentioned, they're nice. Got a couple nice pieces. Crap, maybe the Lakers if they get JR and Carmelo in there. Oh, man. They could just watch JR maybe throw soup at an assistant coach like he did in Cleveland or something. Maybe the NBA should consider doing Hard Knocks. That's actually a good idea. Why hasn't nobody
except year round?
Oh yeah. We could have had it with that with the final year of the LeBron Cavaliers of a second stint there. Oh man. All right, that's enough out of that. We went on a little tangent there, but
I do have two final notes before we leave, though.
Okay.
We should mention that the Tampa Bay Rays are exploring a deal where they be in Tampa for half the season, then Montreal for half the season.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe we're going to get the Montreal Expos back, kids. We can only hope. Either way, they're going to be playing in two very bad stadiums, so who knows?
Man.
And also, this broke within the hour we were doing this. We talked a lot of trash about ESPN. But there's people we like there, like Bob Lee, who is going to retire at the end of the month. So, Bob, happy trails, sir.
Yeah.
He was good on Outside the Lines.
Oh, yeah. Very good stuff on Outside.
Come on the show.
Yeah. Outside the Lines was always good. He's been a mainstay at ESPN for years, basically since they started, I think.
He's definitely been there since '79.
So, shout out to Bob Lee. Who knew this podcast would end with a shout out with that? But he did great work for them, especially on Outside the Lines. That stuff was just awesome. All right, that'll do it for us. Everybody get ready for NBA free agency, for all the madness that's going to ensue over the next week and a half, maybe a couple weeks. I think we're giving it. I think a couple weeks we'll know where most of these guys end up. So that'll do it for this week's views. Again, guys, go check out our YouTube channel, Podcast from the 573. Go check out all the latest action from us, views, entertainment. They'll all be up there, all the episodes. But be sure to go listen to the podcast as well. If that's your preferred preference, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, be sure to go check all those platforms out. Go subscribe, go follow all those. Whichever your preference. And go check out entertainment as well. Again, get ready for... Oh, man. July 10th is going to be another day, Peter.
Yeah, we should probably specify. We are going to record all of these on July 10th.
Yes.
However, because editing... The 100 will definitely be out the day up, for sure.
Yes.
I think we'll try to do our best to get the DC one out immediately.
Yeah.
The Far From Home Marvel ranking one might be pushed back to the 11th or 12th just in case for editing time.
Oh, yeah. I think that makes perfect sense. I think we can hold off on the Far From Home review, since I know there'll probably be some people that haven't seen it. But, hey, it's us. We don't care. Like we really didn't care after Endgame, like 3 days after it released. Like, here's what happens, everybody.
Oh, the day of.
Yeah. It's like me spoiling Loki died again.
Somewhere Matt's just yelling right now after you said that.
Ryan, you're on the list. So, Peter, we're on the list at this point.
Oh yeah, I was insulting Trout this week, so I'm definitely on the list.
You said you'd boo him.
I'm just saying, McCutcheon won a playoff game.
What?
Mike Trout's only playoff appearance, who did he get swept by? The Royals. I'm just saying.
Hey, that'll bring up some happy memories for Rebecca, though. Oh, man, poor Matt. But yeah, I think that's the way to go. I definitely think we'll try to... I know we haven't discussed this, but maybe we'll try to do a live on one of the episodes.
Well, we gotta do it for 100 for the wheel to have video proof.
Yeah, I think we got to. Like, we gotta let people see this madness that we love. It's just, oh man, what have we gotten ourselves into? Yeah, so that's gonna be what we're looking at for the next few weeks. Again, views, entertainment, man. Again, those are gonna be wild, crazy days. So I guess. Yeah, expect the views episode on July 10th. Expect the DCEU stuff on July 10th as well, maybe a little bit later. And then expect the Far From Home and MCU re-rankings show a little bit later on. I think we can manage that. I think that's an ideal slate to go by. So, yeah, everybody mark your calendars out for that if you haven't already. So, yeah, they'll do it with us here from Views from 573. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we will talk to you guys next time.